touchdown, buzzer beater, do it all now. All now, top corner talking home run. Touchdown, buzzer beater, do it all now. Ball now, top corner like all in. Lit the fire when you doubted, now I'm all in. Put me with the best, bring the stars in. Undefeated mode, no falling. Doubted when I lost, slide back when I win. Fade and pay the cost, but I rose so thick and thin. Battles and the scars, see them on my skin. They tried to knock me out, but I'ma fight it to the end, and there's no days off. I'm just resting up a little, know it pays off. I'm just stuck up in the middle, knock some weight off. I've been carrying for years, and I'm not worried, I got no fear. Home run, touchdown.
I've just completed my second full season as a long course professional, and it's been pretty good. There's been some highs and lows for sure, but a ton of learning, and I want to take those forward for 2025 to concoct my 2025 race season and schedule. And it's tough, it's really tough, and I'm going to try and allude or try and go into a little bit of how I've made the decisions and what to do, because as a long course pro at the moment, there's a ton of different decisions that you have to make. All good that there's so many options, but at the same time, there's a lot of different routes that you can go down, and I'm going to try and explain exactly what I'm going to try and achieve this year in comparison to previous years and going forward.
I'm on the train.
So in 2024, I set out with the kind of goals to kind of back up my 2023 promise, because there was a lot of promise in 2023. I went to World Championships, I came 5th. I got another podium in Staffordshire and another one in London. So I got two professional podiums in that kind of first year as a long course professional. So to come into 2024, it was always going to be tough to repeat that, especially with coming 5th at World Champs, so which was a surprise. So going into 24, to try and consolidate that was going to be quite tough, but also I wanted to put myself out there in order to try and gain financial sponsorship for future seasons, to future-proof myself. And there's a multitude of ways that I wanted to do that. I wanted to get exposure, but also put myself on the podium, because that's another way of getting exposure. But also that then kind of feeds into how I fund myself currently, which is through entire coaching. The more exposure I get, the more clients get to see who I am, maybe look into me, and then come through the door to get coached by either myself or one of the other coaches. So it's all been successful, but in different ways, and putting myself at the front of a race, attacking, which I love to do and I'm going to continue doing, is really good to get out there, be at the front of a race, but not necessarily good for winning it every single time. So I need to be mindful of that going forward, especially after my 2024 season, where in Roth, in Challenge Champs, in Fishguard, in most of my races, Barcelona, I was really attacking at the front, but it didn't really come to fruition by the end of the race. So I need to get the balance right between those things, and in 24 it was all about that, being at the front of a race and trying to do what I can to be in front of the camera, to be in front of people, but also to get as high a place as possible in championship races like Challenge Champs, Roth, and a few others, Almere, for example. So Almere is where it really came together for me, and I put myself on the podium after being out front for the majority of the day. Something like, I don't know, 6 of the 7 hours, or 6 of the 7.5 hours, even more than that potentially. So yeah, it did come to fruition in Almere, but I really want to take those learnings that I've made, not necessarily from just the ones that I did well in, but from the ones that I didn't do so well in, like Barcelona, Czech Republic, and a couple of others, into 2025 with some new goals and targets. So my overall takeaways from 2025 were that I can swim at the front of a race, I can bike at the front of the race. Yes, Magnus Dietlev rode off the front of the group in Roth, but you know, he is one of the best in the world at doing that. But every other scenario, I can be pretty aggressive, and sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not the best runner, so, you know, I think that I need to be aggressive on the bike in order to give myself an opportunity on the run to get a podium, and that has worked. I've done well in doing that over this season, so I want to repeat that next season. Another takeaway is that I don't cope very well in the heat unless I do some prep for it. And I'll go into a little bit of that over the next couple of videos or future videos, and how I actually prep for the heat, what I'm going to be doing this season, and how I'm hoping that's going to correlate into results in the future. Barcelona was a real comeuppance. I think that there's a few different things that went into that. Almere was a few weeks prior, and I went to the well in Almere, getting across the line in second. It was a European Championships, like long course European Championship. So to podium on that was really, really important to me. And I went really deep to get there, which then had the consequence of potentially, whether it be neuromuscular or whether it just be general fatigue, it put me on the back foot come Barcelona potentially, which meant that come the run after, I don't know, what's it, 4 hours, 5 hours on the swim and the bike, by the time I got to the run, I was just a bit spent. And yes, this could have been to do with the heat and hydration and sodium levels and nutrition. And I'm definitely going to be looking into that in 2025 for sure. I'm already starting to practice, and I've done a ton of research into what might have been going on there, and to use that in some of my bigger training days leading up into my first race, which I will get into. But for the time being, like, it's like, okay, well, if I am that aggressive after having done a race a few weeks prior, which I went to the well in, then it might have really poor repercussions. So I think that, yes, be on top of nutrition and hydration, and most importantly, do pace the race correctly for the place that it is within the season. So that right at the back end, yes, fitness might have been dwindling because I'd had a couple of races prior. So I just need to take that into consideration when I am either being aggressive or not, because I was really aggressive in Barcelona. So what does this all mean for 2025? Again, it is quite a confusing season. And the best way that I can look at this season for myself is to try and rinse and repeat what I did in 2023. So in 2023, as I previously mentioned, I got 2 podiums on a professional level within both Challenge and Ironman. And also, I want to qualify for the World Championships and be competitive at the World Championships. So there, I did it in 70.3, came 5th in 70.3 Worlds. I want to try and rinse and repeat that, and I know it's not going to be as easy because there's so many more learnings. But I want to try and rinse and repeat that for Nice World Champs. So my main focus this year is going to be to try and qualify and be competitive at the full distance World Championships in Nice, which is really exciting. I'm really, really buzzing for that because I think I've shown a lot of promise in the full distance, and I think that I can be really competitive at the front of the fields there as well. What it means is that I'm going to have to try and prioritize 2 or 3 full distance Ironmans prior to the qualification period ending. But I would also like to do the Pro Series for Ironman, which is where it becomes difficult, because if I don't qualify early, then it means that I have to pivot what I may or may not do in the subsequent races. So for example, if I qualify early, I'd love to then just go and do 70.3 Pro Series races and then 1 more Pro Series Ironman before Nice, because that then counts towards that Pro Series. But if I don't qualify early, I might have to dip out of doing a Pro Series Ironman and do a non-Pro Series professional Ironman to try and get that qualification. In hindsight, I would have loved to have done it last year so that I didn't have to make sure that I qualified this year. But that wasn't the case. So dependent on how early I qualify will depend on the races that I do after that. Ideally, it would be Ironman South Africa, starting on March 30th, I think it is. And then a few weeks after that, I would then go and do a couple of the Pro Series 70.3s. But if I don't manage to qualify early, I've got all the way until basically Leeds or Frankfurt in order to try and qualify for Nice. So yeah, it's a little bit open, and I'm going to have to play it a little bit by ear. My season will open up with South Africa, for sure. That's entered. Training's going well towards it. But after that, it's a little bit more up in the air. It could be Leeds, it could be Austria, it could be Frankfurt, it could be a few other full distance Ironmans. and then input some of those 70.3s as well for the Pro Series, or not Pro Series. I am going to look to do Swansea because it's a European-based 70.3 Pro Series race, and it works quite well to tie into the Ironman. I think it's a couple of weeks later. So that would really tune me up well for the Ironman as well. So that's kind of the main goals for the season. Qualify for Nice, be competitive. If I can, be competitive in the Pro Series as well. But it has a few caveats and kind of like, there's going to be quite a few moving pieces, which is why it's quite confusing. But all really, really exciting, and I can't wait for the season already. I'm fitter than I was this time last year, which is great news. And I'm going to take you along for the journey, I think, obviously, through these YouTube videos. I haven't been very good over the past month because there's been tons of life stuff going on, which I will go into in the next video. Going to be doing days in the lives, lead into races, camps, tricks and tips, all sorts of stuff is planned. I've got a few videos already backed up, so that's really exciting. I just need to edit them, I just haven't had time. And yeah, I'll be keeping you up to date and in the loop far more going forward. If you're interested in the journey and this, that and the other that I try and convey to you guys as a professional, do hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.